County Mayo nightmare. The truck and the fog. I don't claim to be much of a writer, but sharing this story of mine has been a long time coming. I used to be a lorry driver for a living, or if you're American, I used to be a trucker. For 14 years, I drove along the many motorways and through the busy cities of England. Well, more than a decade into the job, I finally had enough, not of being a lorry driver per se, but being a lorry driver in England. The endless traffic and mind-crippling hours away from the wife just wasn't worth it anymore. Talking to the missus about this, she couldn't help but feel the same way, and so she suggested we finally look to moving abroad. Although living on a schoolteacher's and lorry driver's salary didn't leave us with many options, my wife then suggests we move to the neighboring Republic of Ireland. Having never been to the Emerald Isle myself, my wife reassured me that I'd love it there. After all, there's less cities, less people, and even less traffic. That's all well and good, love. But what would I do for work? I question her, more than skeptical to the idea. A lorry driver, love. She responds with quick condescension. Well, a year or so later, this idea of moving across the pond eventually became a reality. We had settled down in the southwest of Ireland in County Kerry, apparently considered by most to be the most beautiful part of the country. Having changed countries but not professions, my wife taught children in the village, whereas I went back on the road, driving from Cork in the south, up along the west coast and stopping just short of the Northern Irish border. As much as I hated being a lorry driver in England, the same could not be said here. The traffic along the country roads was almost inexistent, and having only small towns as my drop-off points, I was on the road for no more than a day or two at a time, which was handy, considering the missus and I were trying to start a family of our own. In all honesty, driving up and down the roads of the rugged West Coast was more of a luxury than anything else. On one side of the road, I had the endless green hills and mountains of the countryside, and on the other, the breathtaking Atlantic Coast Way. If I had to say anything bad about the job, it would have to be driving the western country roads at night. It's hard enough as a lorry driver having to navigate these dark, narrow roads which bend one way then the other, but driving along them at night, something about it is very unsettling. If I had to put my finger on it, I'd say it has to do with something one of my colleagues said to me before my first haul. I won't give away his name, but I'll just call him Podrig. A seasoned lorry driver like myself, Podrig welcomed me to the company by giving me a stern but whimsical warning about driving the western counties at night. Be sure to keep your wits about ye, Jamie boy. Things here aren't what they always seem to be. Keep ye eyes on the road at all times, I tell ye, and you'll be grand. A few months into the job, and things couldn't have been going better. Having just come home from a 2-day haul, my wife surprises me with the news that she was now pregnant with our first child. After a few days off to celebrate this news with my wife, I was now back on the road, happier than I ever had been before. Driving for 4 hours on this particular day, I was now somewhere in County Mayo, the northwest of the country. Although I pretty much love driving through every county on the western coast, County Mayo was a little too barren for my liking. Now driving at night, I was moving along a narrow country road in the middle of nowhere, where outlining this road to each side was a long stretch of stone wall. And considering the smell of manure now inside the cab with me, I presumed on the other side of these walls was either a cow or sheep field. Keeping in mind Podrick's words of warning, I made sure to keep my wits about me, staring constantly at the stretch of road in front of me, guessing which way it would curve next in the headlights. I was now becoming surprisingly drowsy, with nothing else on my mind but the unborn child now growing inside my wife's womb. Although my eyes never once left the road in front of me, my mind did somewhat wander elsewhere. This would turn out to be the biggest mistake of my life, because cruising down the road through the fog and heavy rain, my weary eyes become alert to a distant shape now apparent up ahead. Though hard to see through the fog and rain, the shape appears to belong to that of a person, walking rather sluggishly from one side of the road to the other, hunched over like some old crone. This unknown person appears to be carrying a heavy object against their abdomen with some difficulty. By the time I process all this information, having already pulled the brakes, the lorry continues to screech along the wet cement, and to my distress, the person on the road does not move or duck out of the way, until, feeling a vibrating thud inside the cab, the unknown person crashes into the front of the vehicle's unit, or more precisely, the unit crashes into them. Bloody hell! I cry out reactively, the lorry having now screeched to a halt, frozen in shock by the realization I've just ran over someone. I failed to get out of the vehicle. That should have been my first reaction, but quite honestly, I was afraid of how I would find them. Once I gain any kind of courage, I hesitantly lean over the counter to see even the slightest slither of the individual. And to my absolute horror, I see the individual on the road is a woman. Oh no, 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 no. But the reason I knew instantly this was a woman was because whoever they were heavily pregnant. Jesus Christ, what have I done? I scream inside the cab, quickly climbing down onto the road. I move instantly to the front of the headlights, praying internally this woman and her unborn child are still alive. But once I catch sight of the woman, exposed by the bright headlights shining off the road, I'm caught rather off guard, because for some reason this woman, she wasn't wearing any clothes, unable to identify the woman by her face, as her swollen belly covers the upper half of her body. I move forward, again with hesitance towards her, averting my eyes until her face was now in sight. Thankfully, in the corner of my eye, I could see the limbs of the woman moving, which meant she was still alive. Now, what I'm about to say next is the whole unbelievable part of it. But I swear this is what I saw. When I come upon the woman's face, what I see isn't a woman at all. The head was not the head of a human being. It was the head of an ewe, a fucking sheep. Ah, what the... I believe were my exact words. Just as my reaction was when I hit this thing, I'm completely frozen with terror, having lost any feeling in my arms and legs. And although this creature, as best to call it, was moving ever so slightly, it was now stiff as a piece of roadkill. Unlike its eyes, which were black and motionless, its mouth was wide in a permanent silent scream. I was afraid to stare at the rest of it, but my curiosity got the better of me. Its ewe's head, which ends at the loose pale skin of its neck, was followed by the very human body, at least for the most part. Its skin was covered in a barely visible layer of white fur or wool. Its, breasts, not like that of a human woman, were grotesquely similar to the teats of an ewe, a pale sort of veiny pink. But what's more, on the swollenness of its belly, I see what must have been a pagan symbol of some kind, carved into the skin, presumably by a knife. The symbol was of 3 circular spirals, each connected in the middle. As I'm studying the spirals, wondering what the hell they mean, and who in God's name carved it there? The spirals begin to move. It was the stomach. Whatever it was inside, it was still alive. The way the thing was moving, almost trying to burst its way out, that was the final straw. Before anything more can happen, I leave the dead creature and the unborn thing inside it. I return to the cab, put the gear stick in reverse, and then I drive like hell out of there. Remembering I'm still on the clock, I continue driving up to Donegal before finishing my last drop-off point and turning home. Though I was in no state to continue driving that night, I just wanted to get home as soon as possible. But there was no way I was driving back down through County Mayo, and so I returned home, driving much further inland than usual. I never told my wife what happened that night. God, I can only imagine how she would have reacted, and in her condition nonetheless. I just went on as normal until my next haul started. More than afraid to ever drive on those roads again. But with a job to do and a baby on the way, I didn't have much of a choice. Although I did make several more trips on those northwestern roads, I made sure never to be there under the cover of night. Thankfully, whatever it was I saw, I never saw again.